Hi and welcome to my small garden. I'm a beginner gardener who is trying to learn and share the knowledge on how to grow your own food in a raised bed garden with the help of the square foot method. In today's video I will show you how to plant your tomatoes in a square foot grid and throw some free tips for you. By the way, did you know that tomatoes grow roots from the stem? Later on you will find out how to exploit this property, but first let me tell you how to choose the right plant for you. So let's begin. Tomatoes have two plant variety, determinate and indeterminate. Determinate means that the tomato will grow to a determinate height and will put a determinate number of fruits. They are great for beginners gardeners because instead of growing, they put all their energy into growing beautiful tomatoes, thus they don't need any pruning. They're also good for pot planting because they are smaller, and for short seasons because they put early more tomatoes at once. Indeterminate, on the other hand, means that the plant will grow to an indeterminate height and put an indeterminate number of fruits. They require more maintenance because if you don't prune them, they will put all their energy into growing vines and spreading out, thus having less or no fruits at all. The benefit, on the other hand, is that if you prune them, they can grow as high as 7 feet and they produce tomatoes as long as the season lasts. Tomatoes, beside the two plant varieties, have also fruit varieties. A good pot plant is a cherry or grape tomato. They are small, but their taste is outstanding. They are best eaten fresh, right from the plant. Going by size, the other variety is salad tomato. They are usually used in salads and sandwiches. They have more juice and little bit more acid to balance their sweetness. They are not so good for sauces because you need to boil down all their juice that's inside of them. The biggest of the family is the breakfast tomato, or the slicer. They have a lot of meat and juice and are great sliced in a tomato toast sandwich. They can grow up to 1 kilo in size. They need a longer time to grow and a hotter summer. Last but not least are the rum tomatoes, or tomatoes that are best for canning or sauces. They are meaty with not much seeds, lots of flavor and a little bit more sweet. Now you have the basics to choose the right variety of tomatoes for you. I choose some from every category, but the one I like the most is a freshly picked cherry tomato. Leave me a comment on what's the best variety of tomatoes for you. In a square foot garden, you will need 1 square foot to grow each tomato plant. They'll need their space and nutrients. Because of that, you'll need to amend your soil with compost, and if you don't know how, I have a video on how I amend my soil. I will link it in the description down below. If you're like me and you're a beginner gardener, you'll probably buy your tomato plants from a nursery instead of growing them from seed. Choose some good tomatoes that are not too small nor too big. A good height is around 1.5 foot. You need the height because, as I mentioned, tomatoes can grow roots from the stem, so you can plant them 1 foot deep and cover the stem with soil. That way they will shoot roots from the stem in the ground and they'll get a bigger root system sooner. With a bigger root system they will be more resistant against droughts in the summer. But be careful, if you plant them deep, prune the lower leaves that are touching the ground to avoid wilting. The technique of planting them deep with some strategical watering can vastly increase the root system of your tomatoes. By strategical watering, I mean that before planting your tomatoes, you soak them in water for 5 minutes and right after planting you water them with plenty of water. After that, you let the soil dry. Don't be fooled if you see the top layer dry. Check in the depth of 3 to 4 inches to see if there's moisture there, because the soil can be dry on top but wet under the first dry layer. When the soil is dry under the first layer, or if the tomatoes show signs of stress in the morning, then you can water them. But be careful to water them in the morning and avoid watering them in the evening. By doing this, you're triggering the survival mechanism of the plant and it will grow the roots even faster and further. You can do this for 3 or 4 times, and after that the plant can survive up to 14 days without watering. This is a great tip I received in my local nursery. And because you can get a lot of tips from your local farmer and nurseries, I love to support them. After you plant the tomatoes, prune the lower leaves and the flowers if your tomato has them. And if you have an indeterminate variety, now it's also the time to prune the first suckers. If the tomatoes are sticking out of the ground more than 1 feet, put a stick near the tomato to support them. Even better is that you place a trail, because the tomato needs a support when growing. I will make a video on how to make an easy support for your tomato plants. So if you don't want to miss it, click the subscribe button and bell notification to get notified every time I will post a new video. With this, I think I covered all the basics of planting the tomatoes in your square foot garden. For a final touch, I like to add some wood chips for mulch, so that the moisture stays captured under the mulch layer and it decreases the chance of spreading wilt to the plant. And also, it looks nicer that way. If you enjoyed in the video, don't forget to press the like button. It helps to grow the channel. And subscribe to my channel to see more similar content I post every Thursday. And leave a comment down below if you already planted your tomatoes. See you next week!